and today I'm about to discuss on ways to begin your spiritual journey into finding yourself and tips and tricks on what I did to help me get started in mine. Because like when you first look at the mountain, when you're at the bottom, you're like, that's a big climb, right? There's like, where do you even begin? So for me, it started when I was a kid, obviously, and my family was religious, so but then like I started to grow out of it in high school and I just began something just resonated with me with Egyptian culture. Like I was so infatuated with the pyramids and just all of the monuments and just stuff that they had. So I began to research and learn about the Egyptian culture. And then I have a very addictive personality, right? So when I figure out something new or something that I don't know, I will like spend all of my time in that area. So I'll focus solely on like just that thing for let's say, I don't know, a couple 3, 6 months, a year maybe at the most, and then I will something else will catch my attention, and then I'll like dive deeply into that area, and then I forget about what the thing before that for some time, and then it'll pop up in my life again, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to start incorporating the things that I learned because you know I learned them, but once I learn them, then they slowly begin to appear in my life. Um, because I've forgotten about them. I've learned about them. I still keep them in the front of my mind, but I just don't like think about like you know what I mean. It's still there, but I don't ruminate on it. I just yeah, just try to improve. And that's the whole thing too. It's you will be rewarded by the universe for just effort into becoming a better version of yourself. You will always be rewarded with the amount of effort you put in. The amount of good you put in, you get 3 times the amount back. The amount of negative karma you get is dependent on how much your soul knows. Older souls know more wisdom, more knowledge. So if they abuse that wisdom and knowledge, their karma is going to be much greater than somebody who does not know that information and they use and abuse that knowledge. You know what I mean? Because you're not, how could you get punished for something you do not know? You know? You can't be punished for doing something that you don't know is wrong. You know what I mean? You didn't know that. So there's no karma there. But once you know that it's wrong and you continue to keep doing it, then that's when things happen, you know? But yeah, so those who are old souls and have lots of wisdom and knowledge, they are responsible. They're held responsible and hold at a higher standard than those who um, are young souls or whatnot. Because it takes a teacher to teach someone, but if a teacher knows ways to abuse the system and to make things work in their own favor, you know, that's not okay. That's horrible because that's not what life's about. That's not a good teacher. No, that's not a good teacher. And there's many people like that in the world today. Like ego is so filled in the heads of lots of people these days. So just use discernment. Pray for discernment. Pray for good judgment. Um, yeah. But see my own culture. So let me get back onto how I got started. My own culture, the Native Americans and Aztecs. I didn't even look into that culture my own culture, like first, you would think since I'm Native American, I would, that'd be the first one I'd look into, right? Well, it is not for some reason. And I think it's because I didn't grow up on the reservation and my dad was in prison my whole life. And I grew up with a quote unquote white mother. So I didn't feel like I was a part of my culture and I always felt like an outsider. Um, but I knew always in my heart that no, I have the spirit of I have the native spirit basically because it's that fire that just burns within me in my heart. And but anyway, so I learned about the Egyptian culture and then I learned about um like I was learning about India then because yeah, because just like the medicines that the Egyptians used, like I started using frankincense, burning it, and myrrh a lot. And then I started drinking teas because my buddy would make tea. And so I started learning about India and like the medicines that they would use and like the plants and what plants are used for what medicines and all that. And then I learned like let me see. And then I read about the Greek gods and goddesses and then Aztecs and um and then my own culture like but I didn't have no particular order really. I just whatever my spirit was telling me at the time or like whatever just sparked my interest and lit that fire within my heart, that's what I knew I should follow because my body is telling me a my body is giving me a reason to believe that I should follow this thing. That's my intuition, right? Trust your heart. Always trust your heart. The heart has no ego. The mind has the ego. When you take yourself out and you step back a moment and take yourself like out of yourself, basically, and when you become an observer of your own life and actions, it's like that's when life becomes a movie because you just let spirit to work through you. That's how you defeat the Matrix. Right there. That's how one can become enlightened. That's how one, yeah. There's keys right there to become enlightened. You just step out of yourself. Become as a kid again. What do kids do? They just be. They just act as they are. They don't think, they just act. They're innocent children. They don't know right from wrong, right? They just choose to express themselves as kids. In the Bible it says, "Thou shalt not get to heaven if you're not in your in the form of a child, like or whatever." I forget the verse. I don't know. I don't know verse by heart. I just remember the context. But it states that you need to become childlike again to enter the kingdom of heaven. And what they mean by that is stop thinking like what to do left or like is this right or is this wrong? You just listen to your heart and you just do without thinking. And that's how we get back to our animalistic ways. But that's when you allow the creator to work through you because you are a part of the creator. But when we use our own free will and our what we want for ourselves, that's when, you know, we take ourselves out of source. And yeah. So that's my little knowledge I got for you today. Love you guys.